Hey, what's up, YouTube, and welcome to the first in what could be a series for this channel. And specifically, we're going to be covering the Alchemist Guild, my approach to the Alchemist Guild, and then in particular, we're going to focus in on one of the most controversial, possibly maligned captains in the game currently, and that is Midas. So for the focus of this series, we're going to be looking at how I approach playing a Midas team in Season 4, some of the past experiences I have had with Midas, and also what I think needs to occur, because I think amongst us Alchemist players, Midas is probably someone that we really need to consider his role on the team, and historically, what an unusual fit he was for the team. So again, I'm hoping this may become a series that we do on this channel, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And now for the first part of this series is we're going to cover my personal history with the Alchemist team, with Guild Ball in general, and what got me to this point. So starting with Season 1 Guild Ball, I joined shortly after Guild Ball became a publicly available game. So after the Kickstarter, a friend of mine told me to give it a look because he knew I was really into miniature games and was looking for kind of the next great game. I was a big Blood Bowl player, played a lot of skirmish games. Malifaux was a big one for me, but tried just about everything I could try. And if you look at this channel, you'll see almost any kind of miniature game we tried here on this channel. So anyways, getting into Guild Ball, I went by what I normally do, which is look at the teams that look the coolest to me, and then I buy those and paint up 2 starters, and then we go from there. And the 2 starters I landed on were the Masons and the Alchemists. So Masons I like the look of. Alchemists I chose because I like the look of, and also, I don't know, they just kind of spoke to me. I have a science background myself, and always really kind of like that steampunk, especially like a chemistry or an alchemy type look. So from Season 1, I started to play Midas, and there were just a lot of unusual rules around him. I had a really weird looking team. It was like an orange and blue team, and from playing them, it just was a really weird fit. You know, they kind of threw things around the board, and the rest of the team really wasn't that. They kind of played one way, and then Midas played a very, very different way. Obviously, he had True Rep back then, and with True Replication, basically you steal a play from another player. At least that's how it used to work in the first couple of seasons of Guild Ball. And it led to some really negative play experiences with Midas, right? Because Midas could steal things like Scything Blow. He could steal some really powerful plays from other players and then just abuse the crap out of those plays. So after a very short stint with Alchemist in Season 1, I sold my team and just kind of focused in on Masons. Season 2 was a fresh start for the Alchemist as well. I was, again, like primarily a Masons player in Season 2, and when Smoke came out, that was like kind of a ray of hope, because so many people were down on Midas and the whole True Rep thing, and they had made some changes to Midas, and he was still, you know, pretty much over the top. I mean, let's just be honest. Midas was just way strong, and especially the way the rules were back then. You had a Super Striker captain, and you pair him up with a bunch of Union players. And so it really wasn't even, when you played Midas in Season 2, it really wasn't even an Alchemist team. It was just sort of, this is how good Midas is, and then here are the players that complement Midas. And despite trying Smoke out, and trying to play Smoke and Compound and understand some of the Season 2 stuff, they really weren't jiving for me. So I sold my next Alchemist team, and I think I actually played them twice in Season 2. One without Smoke, playing a Midas team, and then one with Smoke. But neither one of them ever really spoke to me. So I kind of moved on from there. From Season 3, this is where I was, again, a hardcore Masons player for, you know, the past 3 seasons, Midas was just, again, he was still over the top, and he's very fun. They had changed him into being this aggressive striker, and that he was, from season 2, they toned him down a little bit, but he was still like very, very strong. And so you would see Midas and Alchemists and Fish and Morticians in all of the top competitions. And so I didn't really touch Midas at the start of season 3, although I did very briefly build and play a team at the start of the season. And then then he got nerfed. He got nerfed, and everybody left Alchemists. I mean, except for primarily Smoke players. And at the time, I was still kind of dabbling. I was still strong into Masons, and I figured, Alchemists would be Masons in Union, and Alchemists would be my third string team. Like, they would just kind of be the underdog team. And believe it or not, I actually got more attracted to playing Midas in the team now that he was nerfed and all the cool kids had abandoned him. And I was like, you know what, I want to play this team. I've always loved the character of Midas. I love that kind of cocky, brash attitude he's had. His approach to trying to bring the team into the limelight and everything like that. So I started playing them pretty seriously into season 3, and I was losing a ton of games, just losing a lot of games, trying to play them the way I thought they would play. And it wasn't until like the near end of season 3 that I really, really started to understand what they did to Midas and what a unique player he was. I mean, season 3 was really the point at which I shifted from being a Masons and Union player to being almost entirely an Alchemist player. And that had a lot to do with the post-nerf season 3 Midas, which I considered to be one of my favorite players in the entire game. He was so exciting to play. Post-nerf again, really loved all of his stuff. His lore was awesome. His heroic was very fun. It turned him into a pseudo 7 influence captain. He had a fantastic playbook. The heavy burden was just fantastic. It was a great way to kind of stack up successes and do cool things. Double push, double dodge was my favorite thing. The push dodge on 2 was amazing. Just Midas's ability to reposition things, pull his teammates up the board, go and score a goal, snare people. This post-nerf Midas, I know everybody was down on him, but I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And the team I ran was pretty crazy, right? It was, at the end of the season, it was Midas, Nausea, and then the 4 Vs, Vitriol, Vet Cat, Venin, and Vet Calculus. And this team was just crazy strong. I mean, it was very common, especially if I was receiving, to end the first turn up 8-2 and a momentum lead. And it was just crushing. And nobody knew how good this team was, right? Because you kick the ball that, basically you receive, you pass the ball around a little bit, you finally get it over to Midas. He showboats up for free. Then he does his goal run. He pulls, he's dodged up, so he spends 2 to lure up VCat. Then he goes and hits a target on his way in, just bounces in, scores a goal. And then VCat will just come in and witness me later into the turn. Very, very strong, very tough to stop, and super fun. I mean, even some of the guys locally were like, man, they were afraid of that team, and nobody knew about it. Nobody played it. It was such a high-powered team. So when season 4 came along and we saw Midas, initially everybody was sort of raving about how good they thought Midas was. And in theory, how much better he was. And I looked at that Midas card and just, my face dropped. It was terrible. I mean, Midas was trash. He was trash. And the odd thing was, because nobody was really playing Midas prior to that, everyone had kind of given up on him, that nobody really understood where he was at the end of season 3, in my opinion. I mean, nobody really played that Midas player. And so when he came out in season 4, there were all these things that were added to Midas that in theory looked good, but they were terrible. These are terrible things. Losing heavy burden, losing showboating, losing all the push dodges, and then just sort of pasting on this conditional condition play is what I'm going to call it, and just making him one of the least influence efficient models in the game. Whereas, the end of season 3, 6 influence was 6 momentum and probably an additional 4.5 to 5 inches worth of repositions on the board at least. And it just broke my heart. It was like, okay, so Midas is going to be bad. Let's hold off and see how the rest of the team looks. And, there were some great improvements in players like Crucible specifically. Mercury got a big boost. Love the changes to O-Calc. V-Calc got a slight nerf. Vitriol, in my opinion, got a slight nerf. But still very, very playable. Lots of economy in the team. The mascots were fantastic. And so, I was resigned to continue to play Midas and play some Smoke. Really dive in and play some Smoke. And, I'm more than probably close to 100 games into Season 4 now. And probably a good 80 of them are with Midas. 80% of them, I should say. And it's tough. It's been a very long road. I've lost a lot of games, but I've also won quite a few games. And I'm coming to terms with this new Season 4 Midas. And at the same time, arguing with everybody on the internet about, yeah, it was a net nerf. It was a net nerf. And everybody back in the day, like when Season 4 started, they called me an alarmist. And, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I was like, dude, I logged hundreds of games with Midas. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're coming from the Smoke perspective. You're an Alchemist player. And I get that. Most Alchemist players are Smoke players. And that's even more true today. So I think Steamforge trying to make those captains a real choice. I think, I'm going to have to sadly admit that I think they failed here in a big way. I think that Midas is such a drop that overwhelmingly, if you were a Smoke player last season, you are just not even going to look at that Midas card right now. And so, anyways, what this video is going to be about, what this series of videos is going to be about, is my experience playing Midas, what I learned, what I had to do, and hopefully shedding some light on this captain. Do I think he's fun? Yeah, he's still fun. There's still neat little things you can do with him, but he's not a captain. That's really where my hang-up is. He's not a captain. He's an interesting player who can help the board state, but in all practicality, right now there really is only one captain for Alchemists. But if you've been watching this far and you're interested in playing something different, and we don't want to just keep our fingers crossed or hold our breath and hope that the errata coming out is just going to absolutely fix the guy. I think it's more realistic to take an honest look at what he is, what he does, and I want to share my experiences with the team, my approach to the team, and let me just tell you right now, I mean, I would not consider myself a high-level player. I would say I'm probably a mediocre player. I've won at least as many games as I've lost, and so I can help get you started. I don't know if Midas will ever see top-tier play, especially in his current state. I don't think he ever will, unless I go to a tournament myself and lose a bunch of games. But yeah, that's where we are with Midas. And but that said, I'm still very excited about the character. We'll always love the character. We'll always love playing this team. And the team's got some quirk and some nuance to it. This season, it's really going to be about Midas's ability to make those boosted squaddies work and to make a game plan that people just don't expect from an underwhelming captain. And I hope that together we can kind of go through this, and hopefully you'll see some fun in possibly putting him on the board and enjoying him. So that's going to do it for this section of the video series, possibly. I want to thank everyone for watching, and hey, catch us on the next one. Thanks.